By the end of this video, you'll be an expert in Perplexity and be able to do the following things. Number one, you'll be able to convert boring reports like this into interactive dashboards using Perplexity. Number two, you will be able to create actual market research data utilizing factual sources and actionable steps. Number three, you will be able to supercharge your social media using Comet Assistant and actually perform better in your post. Number four, you will be able to search like a pro in the same way that Googling was a skill back in 2020 and we used to see stuff like this. You will remember that Perplexity is the skill of future. And number five is a secret trick that I will let you know if you watch till the end. Let's get started. You are here on Perplexity. The first thing that you need to understand is there are just so many options on the search bar that all of them look crazy, right? But let's start with the simple one, right? Right now, I'm just going to search for something and I'm just going to say what is going on with Elon Musk these days, right? And the point is you can ask questions like this to Perplexity because it's not just searching for you, it's actually referencing multiple informations and creating an answer for you, compared to something else like a Google or a Bing. Compared to Google, which will just give it an answer, this actually goes ahead and researches on your behalf and tells you exactly what you want to know. So Tesla's master plan and everything, tech and business landscape and whatever is happening. Now, let's say I don't want to read through all of this, right? I can just say, give me the top 5 bullets. And now I will just get the top 5 bullets from that particular answer rather than going through the whole thing myself, right? This is the beauty of Perplexity. You are just able to utilize it in the format that you want to search for. So the best way to search in Perplexity is not like the way that we did. It's actually about asking a question and then also telling it how do you want the response to be. Which are the companies serving electricity to the biggest data centers in US? Give me a bulleted list with their stock prices in an interactive graph. Now, when I say this, I technically want it to go ahead and research for me the top 10 companies that are there. Again, it should technically bring up the 10 companies and also convert them into a better, beautiful format so that I can actually see their trading prices. So this is how I can start my day, by actually doing a research on something if I want to invest in, or even if I'm trading in, or anything that you want. You can be asking about questions like, again, how do you go from one place to another, or plan a trip or something like that. And we'll try those out also. But given that you can do something as complex as this, is crazy. Look at this. We got the final answer where major electricity providers for big US data centers, and we also got the chart which technically just put the stock prices, and you have a $40 stock price for EXC, DARC and PCG. And you can obviously go ahead and click on these links to actually technically go to the trading view where you can see more details on that particular stock, and that is just amazingly great. Then you can come back here and ask it more questions regarding any one of this. The best part that Perplexity allows you to do is to search follow-up about it, right? So I can say, can you create a price prediction model? I'm just going to say price prediction chart for next 1 week for EXC. And now I can just ask it to do my stuff. And again, you see these details, and now it will go ahead and create a price prediction chart based on all the analysis that it can gather from online. And so you're searching about factual data and you're bringing it up, and then you can keep asking it questions as you want. The best way is to always tell it what kind of an output you want so you get better. But there are some more cool tricks that you can do with Perplexity. And one of the most important ones that I want to show you is that you have these options available here. Now, you have some options available here when you're searching. And the one of the most important ones is this. You can select different models that are available in Perplexity. So as you can see, there is a massive list available here. And this means that Perplexity, technically, because they have their own model, which is called Sonar, but they also allow you to utilize other people's model or other companies' model. So let's say I ask the same query, and instead of that, I select Claude 4.0 thinking. And I will just go ahead and copy exactly the same query, bring it back here and paste it. And you will see that it will be not a completely different answer, but a bit different answer because our query is pretty similar and we want a specific answer. For example, whenever I am using this, I mostly select Gemini 2.5 Pro because just that I like the model a lot and the way it responds to me, and the kind of data it can hold with it. So this is something that you can utilize. It also allows you to utilize other models in ways that you don't have to pay for them, though there is still some caveat to that. And if you look at here at Claude Sonnet model, the same query that we asked here, and we got this particular chart, we've got this chart in a completely different way. This is how you see that you can use different models and try them out. I utilize Perplexity sometimes to just use a model because I want to get some information and go from there. But let's say now you've completed your search and you also want to learn a bit more details about it. One of the most important things that you can do is click on assets. And in assets, you get a couple of things. You get the chart and also you get the code that created the chart. Now, most of you don't need to use the code. You can just click on chart and download it as a high quality image. And you will get it downloaded and it will show up like this. And it's pretty good given that it's all done within your browser. Another option is you can copy the link and paste that here. You can click on images and see the different images. It's same as Google image option, but the most important part is you can check out the sources on the sources tab. These are all the sources that it did refer, and you can obviously see if these were actual sources or something else. Again, some people might use, sometimes it uses opinion articles, which it should not, but again, it can really show you it referred to around 28 of different sources and what it came back with, and you can also see what it did with them. So the point is again, you have the option of a review here and you have the option which it took the main data from. And then we have here steps. What does steps mean? Very simply, it created these search queries, sent it to its own web system, searched these queries and brought them back. This is interesting if you are doing a long search. Now, this is something that you will never come to on the steps part, but just in case you want to see how it came to this particular conclusion, you can read its understanding here and then come to your own understanding in case it made a mistake. It's the same way that you see any other ChatGPT or Claude thinking, but it just looks a bit cooler here. Now with that, you have all these options. You understand how to use search. Let's come to another option available here. You have the option to refer to different kind of web sources. So you can select web, which is mostly by default. You can select academic, you can select social, and you can select finance. So let's look at an example of social, right? Again, and this is very interesting if you're trying to get an opinion on something. So what do people think about Bangalore Nets? Now, it is technically going to go ahead and search about people's opinion on this, right? It's not going to be, and you see the most important, the most important source that it has found is Reddit. It's going to go ahead and read a ton of Reddit posts and bring me back an opinion on these people. So the most important thing that you can use is again, that select what kind of sources you are using for different options. So for something social media stuff, or you want an opinion of people, you can see that it searches Reddit specifically and come back with it. And now again, the answer is pretty interesting. It is coming from real people because Reddit still has one of the best communities out there, and you can utilize it in any way and format. But let's say you are doing a bit more academic research, right? So you can then switch off web, or you can keep that on and just search for academic papers. You can say, what are the top 2 papers? Or instead of that, you can say, what are the top 2 papers I should read to learn more about AI? And I will do one more query after this so you can understand how you can mix and match both of these things. So just the point till that is searching. Let me come back here. I'm going to say should learn more about AI. And here I'm going to switch on social and academic both. And now it is going to refer more different sources, right? So if you'll see, it always runs around 3 to 4 queries, and it's going to refer to different options and come back with this. So I believe the answer is going to be pretty same, because top 2 papers are yes, attention is all you need, and yes. So the answers are pretty same, but a bit different. So if you see here, this is specifically focused on a few useful things to know about machine learning, and attention is all you need. Now, attention is all you need is the most popular one, so that's why I expect the same answer here. But here, at least you see that there is a different answer here, because it was also referred on a YouTube video here about top AI research papers for beginners, compared to this, which it only shows high authority sources for this. So you see the difference on how both of these answers contrast, even when the completely same query but different kind of sources. We're building this community for people who want to learn about AI and actually grow their careers, or either you are a professional or a business owner or someone who just wants to sell AI solutions to other businesses and help them grow. This is the place to be. We are offering some crazy benefits to the people, which includes a self-hosted end-to-end platform plus a ton of other cool stuff if you are part of the first 50 members who join. So go ahead into the link in the description and sign up right now. So when you are looking for answers and you're searching with Perplexity, you get the option to choose what you want to refer. Let's come back here, and one of the most important ones that they've recently added is search SEC filings. Now, SEC, if you don't know, I'm back on Perplexity, is the Security and Exchange Commissions of US. So it technically is one of the biggest financial regulation body of US, which takes care of everything regarding that's happening by companies and everything else. And everyone has to file data with SEC. So I can go ahead and take the same query that I asked for, which is one company that is on SEC radar due to their transactions with big tech. Public company, more right? Now I can put this, and now technically it will go ahead and see details within the SEC filing data. I have no way how they have cracked this, but I believe all the data is available online, and they have been able to figure out a way to technically, like, secure this access in some format by scrolling by crawling their website, and they are right now going to bring out something that makes sense, because now you don't need to go ahead and read SEC filings and everyone files there and the details are available. You just come to Perplexity and actually search in detail about which companies right now are having a problem with SEC and make your own investment decisions. Given this is a completely financial thing, there is no other alternative way to utilize SEC unless you are working in policy or other kind of making. Now again, even though we did not get anything crazy from this, right, again from this search particularly, like again this is just like something, and it said like it can't find anything involving major tech, but the idea that it was able to refer a whole SEC report like this and convert that into an insight is just crazy. Because if you are a much better trader than I am and a much better investor, you can really involve this, and you can see what does this mean and explain in simple ways. Is refers to their mandatory disclosure, right? Again, and they entered into this, why this was so there is probably a problem with their thresholds and the way that they are monitoring that. So you can go ahead and short this stock if you want to and take a bet on it. Please, this is not financial advice. You can do a lot with this information, and also just the idea that there are people that can get access to stuff like this just because you had Perplexity is crazy, because there are companies that pay so much money to analysts to go ahead and read all of these details to find them the best options. Perplexity is really trying to give people access to get better financial data for everyone across the world, and I believe that's crazy great. Another option that you can do is, let's say you're searching but you also wanted to refer some of your own data, right? So then you have this option where you can attach files, right? You can also connect files from Google Drive and Dropbox, but very simply I can attach a local file. So I have this, like, again, income tax version data for income tax stats. I can say what are some insights that people have got about income tax. Now, because I've added that data, I technically want to select a bit more information. So I want to technically, say focus more on people opinion, and does that contradict the data? So this is an interesting question that you can ask Perplexity specifically. It can go through the whole income tax data file and then now search based on my parameters. So focus on people's opinion about income tax data, bring that, and then create a report accordingly. So after this query is run, I can tell it create a comparative analysis on what do people think about it and what does the data say. So you can create a perfect post about something like myth and busted. I'm going to give it a second to let it run through. Okay, so actually, if you see, there are a couple of interesting insights that it has on. So the point is, people think, like, again, public opinion that a large portion of population pays income tax and that tax evasion is rampant. Again, people might think that, but very simply, I don't believe like people think that right now, so that might not be correct. And then you also have who really pays the most tax. There's a widespread belief that middle class bears the most tax burden, and the data reveals that it is actually, again, concentration of wealth, average gross income for companies. So obviously, as corporates pay higher than individuals and something else. And then it actually created myth and reality. This, and these are some cool things that you can do with it, right? Again, I'm not going to read out every answer, but the idea that you can do that and do a comparative analysis with your data plus web sources in a single place is beautiful. And you should definitely use this when you're creating research reports, or even when you're creating something that needs much more information compared to what you already have. Let's come to a better option. Let's come to a simple more option. Also, you can use this to dictate, but another cool thing that it has is voice mode. Hey, can you tell me a bit more about how the weather is going to be, because I'm planning a trip to Sri Lanka next month?
In October, Sri Lanka will be quite hot, with daytime temperatures around 30 degrees Celsius and nights around 24 degrees Celsius. You can expect about 16 to 22 rainy days with heavy rainfall, so be prepared for some wet weather. Humidity will also be high, and the sea temperature will be warm, around 28 degrees Celsius.
Perfect. Now, as you can see, this is pretty interesting, right? Again, you can choose different voices, but the idea is that you can search in a much more interactive format, which is amazing. Like I can switch off the mute option and then talk to it more. And this is super interesting if you're having like a morning coffee and you just want to have your news updates or search about a couple of things, you can just keep interacting with it. And this is the idea, like, again, and also one thing that I have to give Perplexity is that they have really cool visuals. So again, go ahead and change the voice. You can speak in multiple different languages. It does not support Hindi right now. That's not super great, but that's fine. Like there are a ton of other languages supported and you can like, choose from them. And yeah, it supports Hindi now. So you can use that also. And then you have different voice styles to choose from. With that, let's come back to our main part, which is technically, again, let's come back to the main screen, and we have here. Now, as you see, we have all the options covered here. We have another option, which is research. And this is something that you can really use. And they give you a couple of inputs on what you should technically use, like, plan a 3-month road trip or have US tariff affected commodity prices or something like that. Actually, I would be interested to technically, like, do a US tariffs one, but I want to utilize this, right? And say, plan a 1 month trip to, let's take a new country, Vietnam, for December, and within, let's go crazy, right? Within $1,000 budget, right? Again, I don't think it's possible, but let's see. And give me an interactive report. Now it's going to be like, again, it's going to take some time. Like this is more or less the deep research option that Perplexity has, similar to ChatGPT, is where it will go ahead and do a much deeper research, which technically means it has just multiple steps that it will go through, create a report, and then bring it all back in a single place. As you can see, you also get this beautiful thing here, which is like, how much time is left, and as it keeps progressing, the time keeps changing. I have my notifications enabled, so in case I'm not even like, doing something else, it can ping me that your report is ready. And you can also skip the remaining steps if you just want to, like, again, get like, just basic information. You don't want it to wait for 3 minutes, but again, I believe it works best when you give it enough options. You can also at the same time give it more details while the report is being generated, so you don't have to wait for it to complete the report. So I can say, like, again, ensure to add flights from India, right? And I can give that as an option, right? And then it now has more details for me to do. And then again, probably it's going to take another minute for the report to get processed because I've given it a bit more information, which is again pretty interesting, so that I am not waiting for, like, the report to get completed and then give my input, and just in the middle I can give my information. So it's going to take a minute to complete, and let's see how it comes out. Okay, we finally got our report ready now again, and you can see, like, Vietnam's 1 month budget trip. The idea that it created a massive, like, pie chart which tells me everything that I'm going to spend money on is just crazy. Like, again, like, just it's over planning, but if you want to, you can, right? Again, and I just believe that is crazy. Like, just the idea that you can is just something great. It has a complete breakdown, how much it's going to cost for flights. It even checked Skyscanner, and then you have the single entry, the accommodations for 30 nights and $240. I'm pretty sure it's going to be hostels or something like that, and then your food and dining, transportation, activities is going to be $100. Food and dining, I don't think it's going to be $180. It's I'm not sure, like, given that, like, I don't think I told it that I only eat veg food, I can't eat non-veg, but, like, you have daily cost by the region. So South Vietnam is probably a bit more expensive, Central Vietnam is cheap, and North Vietnam is a bit more expensive. And then it has gone and given you accommodations also, which you can choose from, the food budget reality, and then it has a, like, again, pretty good food at cheap cost, so that's good. Like, again, you can utilize that. And then you have so many options for different kind of, like, every day 1 to 5, and given it's, like, whole breakdown on what you can do. You know what, if someone is a travel YouTuber, I think this will solve them so much time. And I would actually like someone to, like, just test this itinerary out, and, like, just see how it works out, and, like, trusting AI for a trip. But yeah, do trust, like, again, but also, but, like, this would be such a cool video idea if a travel YouTuber does this, makes Perplexity do a whole thing and come back to it. But again, that's for another video. Let's come to back to this. And but, like, again, you can start with research, and this is an interesting format, but research can do a lot more. You can see, like, the sources that it took roughly 6 minutes for this to get generated, and it went through 63 different sources to combine this. And the steps that it took is just crazy. Like, it went through multiple options, created a multiple charts, and converting everything from Python to images. I believe, like, that was impressive. This is still a good example, right? This is a fun example. You can do this for much more detailed reports and much more complex reports for research. But the idea is, like, again, you can do this for complex reports, but also you can do this for stuff like this. What's the safest family vehicle you could buy, right? Imagine you have an assistant which is going to compile a whole massive report for you to take a decision and, like, take a very informed decision. If that's not crazy, I don't know what is, right? Again, and you can do that for so much. I used Perplexity for a couple of my buying decisions, and I'm glad I did, because it just saved me so much time on going to different websites to what kind of stuff I want to buy, what kind of electronics I want to buy. For example, I bought these headphones. I just used Perplexity to figure out, okay, what are the best headphones, which are the cheapest cost that I can get to, here are my specifications and everything else. So it does work, and it's pretty cool. Now let's come to the another part before I move on to the last options, is come to discover, right? And this is something that they have recently released, but it's pretty cool that I get to see the most important news to me available in a single page, right? And I also get to see, like, the market outlook, some popular companies that are there. And you can obviously, like, again, I'll show you how you can edit this list also. But very simply, like, again, you can see news that is curated for me based on my search history, which is amazing. You obviously also can see the top news articles that are happening in the country, because, again, very simply, you should know what's happening in the world. And then you can choose topics that interest you. So tech and science, finance, whatever that works for you. They have multiple options here. And then one thing that you can do is you can also share this particular page with someone. So let's say you want to share your page, this particular page here, you can do that, and it will share these particular news articles on a Perplexity page. The another option that you have here, and, like, again, is spaces, which is pretty interesting, like, but technically, like, pretty similar to creating, like, a ChatGPT project or something like that, which is pretty interesting. What you can do is you can set up custom instructions and add files and links here. So when I say custom instructions, you can give it a specific, like, again, instruction on how it should respond. So you are energetic, you are technically telling it how the assistant should respond and how to work across it. And then you can also give it settings to choose if you want web or not. You can also add different files and create that. Another cool thing that you get here is you can set recency. So what time till you want it to search. So you don't want it to search for last year, you just want it to search today's data. You can come here and tell, like, based on today news, what is one idea that I should build, right? And then it can go ahead and, like, again, it's kind of like, again, research through it, but just based with some specific instructions. So you can create spaces for yourself. Like, let's say you are creating for a school project or a research project or creating a PhD thesis. Creating a space would help you a lot more, because you can attach files for yourself. You can attach different links. So every time you come back, you don't have to write a massive prompt. You can just start in your space. You can come, like, again, I can leave this running. You can come to your space and then just, like, start typing something. And that, I think, is pretty cool. You can also set it up and treat it as much. I use ChatGPT projects a lot, so this is similar to that if you are using ChatGPT. But if not, this is a cool place to, like, get real factual data and also attach a couple of files with that. But with that, we have one of the coolest things that I want to show you, and that I've been excited to show you since the start of this video, is technically labs. And this is just chef's kiss. The idea that I can convert real, factual, boring data into stuff that I want to show to people. I don't want to put in a lot of effort and, like, move across 5 different tools. I can come here and say this beautiful thing. So I'm going to create a report, and I'm just going to show you as an example. Create a prompt engineering dashboard using the following. Now I pressed Add tab, and as you see, in the Add tab, it lists all the tabs that I have open. So I have multiple tabs open here, right? Again, and it will show me all of them. And I'm just going to move this properly back in, right? And come back. Now, when I tap the Add tab, I can select what tabs I want to choose. So I'm going to choose, very simply, there's a prompt engineering tab that I have open, which is prompt engineering guide, right? And I'm just going to give this and ask it to create a dashboard with the most popular techniques. Most popular prompt engineering techniques, and press enter. Right now, it will go ahead and create a plan, but the output of this plan will look super cool. Let me show you what I did already. So I went here again and very simply created a whole project plan which says went to the labs and said analyze the income tax data and explain the detailed inequalities, insights, and other learnings with chart and graph in an interactive dashboard. And the output, guys, again, this was the input, right? Again, very simply, like, again, this was the input, right? This was the massive input that I gave, like a 91-page PDF, and this is what the output looks like. And this is, my friends, is the beauty of using Perplexity Labs. You can convert insight-based data into these beautiful pages, which can be directly shared with anyone. And I'm going to link this below so you guys can check it out. But very simply, like, again, I can, like, this even works with, like, again, income threshold. So I can say, like, again, what amount of income people earn and how many people like that are there. So 500 lakh is crazy, right? Again, and I can do these filters. I can select individuals only, right? Again, to see how much income people are earning, what is the wealth concentration and everything else. But the idea that this is a beautiful dashboard is crazy. You can see income ratio is horrible, 78,701. Percentage paying zero tax, top 1% income share is 22%, and there is 23,000 crores is the income of 23 lakh crores is the income of 966 ultra wealthy entities. So there are like 1,000 companies which own so much more, right? Again, and you can see income share and buy options, and this was all created in one shot, right? So you can see the tax amount, you can see the tax rate, and you see this, right? So the point is, the more you earn, technically the tax rate is keeps going down. So total tax is 3 lakh crore, total income tax payers and everything else. So, and then you have some analysis here and then everything else. And then you have the global income inequality. And then you have the inequality comparison, which was my first idea that what I wanted to see. And India is not doing great, guys, 22% right now. US is at 18% and China 13%. Again, we need to do better. That's one thing that I'll say. But again, you can create these beautiful reports utilizing Perplexity, and that's just crazy. And these dashboards, the best thing that I like with them is not that you can create this with a lot of other AI tools, but you can share this right away. You don't have to wait for anyone. I can just copy this link and send it to you guys. So I'm going to link it like below for you guys to check out, but this just looks the same. So you can have like an app which is virtually live all the time, and you can just share it with people, and people can go through reports in a much more interactive format. Okay, let's see if we did create this. Again, it's going to take some time for this prompt engine dashboard to come. So till then, let's move on to the more cooler part. Let's move on to a couple of cool things that Perplexity also offers. So one of the things that you can come here and select on the left hand side is clicked on preferences. Now preferences is just like, again, a couple of settings that you can choose, but very simply you can choose the language here, right? Again, you can have like the specific language if you want to respond in. You can choose the model already where I showed you, like you can select the model. You can also choose the image generation model in case you are utilizing it for image generation. I don't use Perplexity for image generation at all, but if you want, you can do that. And then there is also an option of AI data retention. I keep it off mostly, but if you want to, you can keep it on. Personalization, this is pretty cool. Like, again, you enter a simple introduction point to yourself, so you can tell it a bit more information about you and everything else. Again, I just like, again, I don't have anything here, but again, if you want to input, go ahead. The one thing that I do have activated is memory, because that is one thing that I'm so much like, again, I have so much faith on that. But one thing that I have turned on is memory, and I'm really like, picky about it, because the point is I want it to technically know the way I search and know the way I want information and, like, stuff about I search about. So because every time I search, I wanted to have a reference about who am I, right? And that's something that's super important, and that's why memory is probably one of the best features that they added, that now search results are more geared towards me as an individual rather than like just getting normal search options. Another thing that I have and which I like a lot is technically shortcuts, right? Again, and one of the shortcuts that I recently created is AI News Week in Review. And let me just show this to you on how this shortcut works, right? So I come here, I want the Comet browser. You don't need this, like, again, specifically on Comet browser. You can launch this from any place, but I can just click on shortcut to technically run that prompt every time that I want it. And it will go ahead and take all of this and give me a report exactly in the format that I want. So it's just like a shortcut. Like, you can copy paste this prompt and keep it somewhere, but it's a shortcut that I can go to Perplexity, right? So let me just come to Perplexity and just you do a slash, and then you can select all your shortcuts that you have. So if you are a social media person, you can see what is trending on social media, and it will go ahead and, like, change all the things and give you a research based answer on that. So again, it's pretty cool. You can save the things that you always keep searching about. So news is something that I search about, and that's why I have that shortcut. And that's something that you get this beautiful report which has all the information. So from August 28th to September 4th, which is as of today, and you have that information. Next is tasks, and this is something that again it's similar to running a search, but instead of running a search all the time, you can just technically again let it run for you. So you can add a market forecast, or you can say an option to get you task insights every day, every week on Friday. I have a couple of tasks running on both Perplexity and ChatGPT, but you can set this up, save this, and now it will send you a task every Friday at 5:10 p.m. So you can do this for alerts, you can do this for pricing. You can also ask it to run something if you wanted to send out a report every week. But it's pretty cool and it gets you a notification on your mobile, which is where I mostly use Perplexity on the home screen. So you can go ahead and do that. Notifications is simple, you know what it is. Again, you can see notifications that you get. There are connectors, you can connect it with a couple of stuff. I have not connected Perplexity with my WhatsApp account. I don't want to, I want to keep WhatsApp separate, but if you guys want to go ahead and do that. But now let's come to Comet. Right, again, this is how the Comet browser looks like. It's one of the most coolest things that has happened to the AI landscape in the last 2 years, quite literally 2.5 years or something. But the idea that you have a browser that technically looks much cooler and also does much more stuff. The first thing I want you to show is this beautiful thing, right? Again, and you can see there are a lot of things that are happening here, right? But the idea is again, very simply, you can choose a couple of options from this, and I'll show you in a second. But the one cool thing is widgets, right? Again, and this is the default page, and I want to pause the assistant. I don't know why it's running. I did not ask you to run. Okay. So you can click on editing widgets and you can add widgets from here, which is cool. You can add a news tab, so you can see the news. You have a stock option. You can obviously add multiple of them, so you have multiple widgets like the same thing. So I can come here and say in settings and say instead of media, I want to search Google, right? And I want that as a stock, and maybe I can just the only thing is I'm pretty sure they'll allow redragging at some point in time, not right now, but it's fine. And you have Google here, you have news here. You can edit it as you want. Wormhole is their new game that they've created. Again, and I am on, as you can see, level 44. But it's a pretty cool game that is just again about throwing a comet from one place to another, and the goal is to get it to this. So you have all those things here. Again, our report is still going on, but the idea is again, one thing that you can do here is technically make it yours, right? Again, I'm pretty sure we all know how to do this using different extensions. The way that they built it in this is just beautiful because you can customize a browser without extending any extensions. It's great. So let's come to a couple of more things, which is technically start by trying the assistant in action. And this is one of the coolest features that they have, and it keeps changing. Now if you see, I just clicked on that button and it has selected a random use case. Take control of browser and play a relaxing music mix with cosmic vibes under 1 hour. I don't want to listen to that, but just an example of what it can do is just crazy. So again, let's see, and you have relaxing music under 1 hour, and it's going ahead and doing its actions. You can see on the right hand what it's trying to do, right? And very simply, as you can see, it has taken over the browser effort, right? Again, and now it started playing it, and the task is completed. Now again, I'm not going to switch on the audio for this because that's not our goal, but technically I can pause the Comet Assistant here, pause this, and then I can technically just ask it to complete the task or stop the task itself. Now, in the same way, we can go to technically booking.com, right? And that's a pretty interesting use case is come to booking.com. You can click on this button here, right? Again, technically to get and start a new thread and say here, find me the cheapest flights in next 1 month to Vietnam. Let's keep Vietnam in mind. And I can say very simply, take over the browser. And now it's going to take over my browser, right? Again, technically control. I'm again, that's why my hands are off. The reason I want to show this to you is the coolest thing is that it's now going to take over the whole website and really go through and find me flights for the next 1 month, in the next 1 month, which are Vietnam. And you'll see it will go ahead and search by itself. input the details, you can see it inputting the text box. Again, it's not super fast, right? Again, it's actually taking over a browser, it's learning the window at the same time and then selecting it and everything else. So it's not fast, but the point is it's not meant for that, right? I just keep like, I can navigate away. I don't have to be on the screen. I can navigate away and like, move into a completely different option and I can do all of those things. But the idea is like, again, it keeps running. It still keep running, right? Again, it lives in your browser. It's running on your screen, but you can navigate away if you want. You can see it is the report that we got for like, the popular social media, right? Again, what is working in YouTube, what is working popular in different platforms and everything else. But the idea is like that assistant is still running, right? And you can see it. Select Vietnam, it's now going to search, and if I navigate away, it will still keep running. And I'm just going to close a couple of tabs so we can see that, again, there is nothing that, we need to do. It just keeps running. And you also see like, and just to see how it's working, like you can see there is a blue, like, again, comet style, like, again, color available here. And I can come back here and as you can see, it's still running and doing stuff by itself, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like again, and like, let's just see, it's going to navigate to flight section, and like, again, it's going to take a couple of things and keep doing its own thing until it finds us flights, which is just crazy. So we can leave it here and come to the next option where I want to show you another thing that the assistant can do really well is help you shop, like quite literally help you shop. Well, let's say like, again, you have Seedbox, right? Again, it's a popular software which is used for like, again, file sharing and torrenting and everything else, right? Let's say I want to like, purchase a subscription here, right? So we come to pricing, right? Again, and I've been like, signed up to their email list for some time, and I click on buy now. Right now, the alternative would have been like, I just simply like, again, refresh. Let's see what happens. Probably a quick ad. Now I'm here and I can simply say like, again, tell me the best discount code that I can apply, and also go through my emails for any offers. Right now, it technically has access to my email inbox because again, I've given it access as I showed you. It's connected to my option, but right now it's going to bring me the best coupon codes from across the web. Now again, it's obviously going to like, again, as you see, it's going ahead and searching my emails, right? And that itself, like, again, just like, just to move aside, you can see there are so many options that it has brought back. Now I don't even need to do this. The best thing that I can do is I can just say like, again, so you see there are like, again, RSB31 off as an option as a promo code, or I can even say like, very simply, and it does not work, that's fine. Like I can ask it to like, again, technically, can you find me the code that works? Keep testing codes out by taking over browser. And now it will take over the browser and technically like, again, purchase and like, again, keep applying the codes, right? As you can see, it's applying multiple codes here, and we'll keep doing that until it finds a code that works. Now again, we are here and we are on alternate option. It found the flights for me, and you can see I did not even come back to this tab at all. And you have the flights available here, and then it has found out which are the cheapest flights that there are. So 34,000 is something like, again, around around $400, and you can like, choose this flight if you want. Extremely long flight, right? But cheapest one, so it's fine. Like, again, you can obviously choose best, pay a bit more, and technically like you can say not a lot of difference, like, again, but yeah, you can like, see different kinds of flights that are available, and it can take over for that. It can also like, do a bit more stuff. So you can take our itinerary plan and plug that in and everything else. So the idea that assistant can take over your browser is just cool. I have also asked it to like sometimes like, take over Canva, right? So if I just go ahead and like, ask it to technically create a new design. So I'm just going to create a like, a logo, right? And I'm going to come here, click on assistant, and I'm going to say create me a beautiful logo for a brand named Comet. Let's see how this works. It will be interesting, and then it can take over and see what works out and everything else. Here you can see it's already testing out every code, and apparently it's not been able to like, again, all the tested coupon codes were invalid, and that's fine. Again, like, again, well done. But I'll tell you one thing, using Perplexity Comet for my shopping has been the best one, because I've just really got a ton of great offers, right? Again, now all of them I've like, again, I've already like, again, is purchased, so I don't have anything else. But the only option that it found for me is like, pay for 8 months and get 12 months on an annual plan, and that's just crazy. Like, again, like, that itself is a great offer that I can choose. I would not have ever gone back to my email and checked it, I would have been like, just go ahead with like whatever is there. So I can go ahead and check that out if that exists, and if not, I can ask it to bring up my email. Can you show me the email about the annual plan? And now it will be able to go ahead and show me the exact email that is there for the annual plan. So yeah, it showed this up, and then sign up for this, and it's only available once a year, and the clock runs out on 10th. Pay for 8 months, use it for 4, and that I believe is a pretty cool thing. So again, again, I don't know. The idea, again, you can use this for shopping is great. Another thing that you can ask it to do is technically manage your email inbox. I'm going to do a quick thing here, right? Again, and I'm just brought you to promotions because these are all promotions. I'm just going to say, what are the top 3 offers that I can save a ton of money in travel. So now, let's say I'm traveling and I don't want to go through I'm signed up on a couple of email lists. Most of them times don't check it out, but people send out a lot of email lists. You can go ahead, check it out. Given that it already has access to my email, it just went there and it has brought this multiple options available. Can you take over browser and show me on email also? And whenever you say take over browser, it takes over your browser, right? Again, and then again, technically it will load up those particular things. So again, all done. It sees again, it is going to take over my browser now, go through my emails and figure out what needs to be done. So truly an assistant, again, even though it is just a simple search away, it can now pick and choose what works, what does not, and just show me that. So does it make you more lazy? Yes. Do you want to be more lazy? Yes, because you can be more proactive with the assistant for that. Let's see how our Canva task is performing, right? Again, okay, it just took over this. Now it looks pretty cool. Now take over the browser and use Canva to do it. Honestly, not a bad logo. Again, I liked it. Even if you don't, it's fine. And you can see it's starting and searching for a minimalistic logo, right? Again, and again, this is not me doing it. I'm just moving my browser because just pointed. It shows this. Let's see what it can do now. Can it change the text? I've tested a couple of times like this, but it's a I think again it has got again. Let's see what it does. I'm going to leave it at there, but at least we can see it has opened up one thing that it made sense, $50 off, and then you also have American Express X Make My Trip, which I believe would be a cool thing. So you have Make My Trip and American Express, and they're giving discounts on 18th, 19th, and 20th of August. So this would have been interesting if I would have seen it that time. Just I did not. I don't know how many things it would have been valid for, but it's pretty interesting. But with that, I can just tell you, again, I hope, okay, it tried to do something, it added this element. I have no idea what this element is, but it's still trying over. And I'm pretty sure Comet will get to a point which it will be able to take your complete browser, understand everything, and do what it needs to do. So with that, on that high note of this Comet browser's own creation, I don't even know what that element is. Okay, let me just show you one more last use case of this, and then, we're off. Now, Mr. Beast has this amazing video, which I'm sure would be super interesting. But very simply, I'm going to click on assistant. It's a 3-minute video, but we can do it with a longer video also. So let's take this. Nikhil Kamath is super famous in India, and he has a 3-hour podcast, which is great. I'm just going to say, summarize the video for me with great detail and in 10 bullets. And now it will technically again, it knows what it's trying to do and will summarize over that. Did we just again, I think it downloaded me an image file from here. Didn't see. Horrible, but it's okay. We expected that. Let's come back to YouTube. And now again, you can see it has automatically went ahead and summarized everything that it is there, what they discussed about, what is it, and again, in depth created a complete understanding of the video. So I don't even need to watch it if I don't want to. I'm going to watch it. It's pretty cool. But you can use this for YouTube videos, not like this one. That's why I kept it for the end. But with that in mind, I just want to say, if you like this video, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. And if you enjoy learning, please go ahead and test out Perplexity more, because it's probably one of the most important tools that we are going to use as we go forward. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.